Hey there, friends. This is Callie. Thanks so much for being here. I'm excited to share today's card. It's kind of inspired by a quilt that I recently made, and there are colorful lemons on this quilt. So I saw this geo flower building set and thought, I see some fruit there as well. So I decided to create some fruit using this stamp set by making some grapefruit, some oranges, as well as some lemon and lime. So we're going to go ahead and get started here by stamping out those images. For these round pieces, I'm using some cheeky ink as well as some orange ink to create my grapefruit and orange. So I'm just going to stamp in my MISTI and rotate each image after stamping to create a second image, and this will help speed up the process of stamping. I do stamp 2 to 3 times with each impression just to make sure I get the color just right. And I also stamp a darker shade to mimic the flower stalk on these little grapefruit and oranges. So now I'm moving on to Cantaloupe ink. This is a great orange ink from Simon Says Stamp, and I'll do the same thing. I'm just going to stamp 2 of each and rotate my cardstock so that I don't have to move my stamp between stamping. Next, I'll work on some foliage for these grapefruit and oranges, and I'm going to use some field ink as well as some Fairway ink, so I have 2 different colors. And then we'll do some lime in LIMELICIOUS and some lemon with the CITRINE ink. So again, I'm just doing some simple stamping. I'm trying to use a lot of different greens so that we can add some color to give the card more contrast and a little bit more interest. All right, so I have the dies here. I'm going to go ahead and die cut everything off camera. We have all these little pieces, and that's going to help me form a nice full background for a card. The card here is going to be an A2 sized panel. I'm going to go ahead and ink blend this panel first, and then we'll trim it down so that there's a nice border. So I have some surf ink, and I'm just going to lightly ink blend all the way around, fading towards the center to a white. I'm using a very soft hand going clockwise and counterclockwise to get a smooth blend. And you want to use a light hand, especially with dye inks, because you don't want any of those harsh lines, and you can build the color as you go. Okay, so I went ahead and trimmed a 1/4 inch off all of the sides. The reason being I want a soft border, but it also helps me cut off all the extra pieces that are overhanging later on, and it just makes it a little bit easier because I have a straight edge to align in my trimmer. So the purpose for that is twofold, but it does help to trim it before instead of after, especially when you are going to raise your images with dimension like I plan on doing. So I took all of my die cut and stamped images, and I've laid it out and made sure that it has full coverage and there's equal distance between all of the different images. And then we'll use some Glad Press and Seal, and I'm just going to cut a piece that is going to be slightly bigger than my A2 sized card right now, just to ensure that everything gets picked up by the Glad Press and Seal at the same time. So I'll lay this over all the pieces that I laid down over my background, and I'm going to press the images onto that press and seal so that I can lift it all up and it stays on the Glad Press and Seal. I'm sure many of you have seen this technique before. It's just something I haven't done in a while and decided I would share it for this particular card. I'm using some 3D foam squares now. I'm using the one that doesn't have a whole lot of height to it. I wanted a little bit of height, but not too much. So I've applied it all over my images on the background, and then I'm going to pick up that Glad Press and Seal and then carefully line it up over my ink blended panel and then press it all down. And when everything is secure, I'm going to go ahead and lift that Glad Press and Seal, leaving behind all the images on that ink blended panel. So now I can put this in my trimmer and cut off the excess overhang from those images. And like I said, trimming it earlier is going to be helpful for this because you don't have the extra cardstock layers to cut through, which I have learned in the past can cause some uneven cutting. So I went ahead and did that beforehand, and now that our card panel is ready, we can go ahead and work on a sentiment. I have the You Shine stamp here, and I'm just going to stamp the You Make Life Sweet sentiment from that stamp set. I'm going to prep my cardstock with some anti-static powder tool. This is a new one from Simon Says Stamp that I absolutely love. The size is great. If you haven't gotten one yet, I know that they last a long time, but I think you'll love the size of that one. I stamped the sentiment with a clear embossing ink, and now I'm going to spread and sprinkle some white embossing powder over this so I can heat set it for my embossed sentiment. Here's another fabulous tool from Simon Says Stamp. I'm using some hot hands to hold my cardstock, since I usually use some leftover cardstock scraps to stamp my sentiments. I always have very little space to hold, so that this is going to help me prevent from heating up my hands and burning my hands. Anyway, I fussy cut my sentiment. I love doing that. So when there's not a coordinating die, I just fussy cut around the words, and it helps really bring your eye to that sentiment without any extra cardstock around it. So now that I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and attach this to a white card base. I'm going to use some liquid glue and adhere that down. And you can stop here. I decided I wanted to add some embellishments to give this card a little bit more shimmer and shine. I'm actually just using some clear enamel dots, and they are adhesive stickers from Honeybee Stamps, so it's just convenient and quick and low fuss. All right, so that finishes my fruit card for today. I hope you enjoyed this. If you're interested in the products that I use, be sure to check out the links below where everything will be linked for your convenience. Thanks so much for stopping by, and have a great day, everyone. Bye.
I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.